Good morning. The old fisherman back with you again. We in a shallow area this morning, about 22, 25 foot, trying to catch some crappies, but I'm catching a couple white perch and crappies. I caught a couple crappies, ain't a lot, but I'll show you what I just caught. Got two pretty nice crappies so far, and we got some pretty good magnum perches, but I'm catching them on a crappie jig. There's another one. I'm catching them on a crappie jig. See them nice crappies? Catch them on a crappie jig. Yo-yo on a crappie jig, and I got a couple rods out here this morning. I'm just hanging them loose in here and trying to work this little area. Yo-yo on a jig, and a couple rods here with minnows, and they slow. Everything's really slow today. The water's real low, and I'm having a hard time. I've caught a dozen. I think two little crappies, and then two nice crappies, and a few white perch. But we just trying to make something out of a bad day. I got over here this morning. It's overcast. I was thinking, I'm gonna tear them up today. And when I got over here, I seen the water was down. And I'm telling you, people, if this lake is down, it is hard fishing. And you never know until you get here. It's worse than a tidal lake. At least with a tide waters, you know by the chart when it's going to be up and down. You just don't know. You leave the house, come fishing, thinking it's going to be a wonderful day, cloudy, chance of rain coming in tonight. And what happens? The water's way down. And I'm telling you, I see fish. They don't half want to bite, and I'm having to make them bite using a crappie jig. And believe it or not, they're hitting the crappie jig without a minnow better than the old minnows. So I was saying the other day, if I had minnows, I believe I could tear them up. But hey, they're hitting the jig better than the old minnows. So we're gonna pull in here, and the creek comes in and makes a turn right here, and it goes across over there and turns back. So what we doing is we working this little creek channel in the creek channel is about 23, 24 foot. And right where it makes that turn, it comes up on the edge, and there's a few fish hanging in there, just slow biting. Every so often, I'll look down and I'll see a couple fish come through. Now, what I'm catching, the last couple I've caught has been nice ones, white perch, and also a couple crappies. If they was to start pumping water back in this lake, they would probably start biting. But right now, the water's dropping, I think, so it makes it really difficult to try to make a video. But I thought I'd turn the camera back on. I caught them a couple and show you them, and maybe we can catch one or two for you. But it's just slow fishing. I went out to my honey hole for the perch. They gone. The perch are coming in these ditches, I guess, to spawn, and they scattered. So they're really scattered. Out there on the honey hole in that deep water, they group up and you can hammer them. But when they get in shallower, they just a little bit tougher to catch. They scatter around, and you catch a couple, and then they'll move because it's shallow, and they spook. And so we're going to try our best to catch a couple in here. And you never know. All you can do is turn on the camera and hope. I just caught a couple, so I decided to turn the camera on. But now they probably quit biting. That's the way it is, shallow fishing and just easing around. But our problem today, everything looks good except the water is dropping. That's the problem. And they just do not feed right when the water's dropping. It's just hard going. Ain't nothing I can say about it. You struggle, and that's that 10% of the time I tell you I don't catch a lot of them is when the water is low and dropping. So if it's up, shallow water fishing this lake is good. But if it's down, then you got to struggle. But I'm just basically got a couple rods out with minnows, and of course they're not catching anything. I've caught them on the daggone with one jig, so really and truly, I wouldn't leave but one rod out and catch what I've caught. Every one of them's been just about on this single jig by itself with no minnow. You would think that they would hit a minnow. Sometimes they'll hit a jig better than they will a minnow. They're funny. They're really funny. And then again, you come out here one day, they're warm minnows, they'll eat them up. So that's why I really don't buy a lot of minnows. You know, I got some, I'm gonna fish with some this week, but I don't know if it's worthwhile. I think I can just zero in on one rod and the crappie jig and catch just about as many. This is a little shallow for the gulp shrimp. I use the crappie jig with a little split shot, a number 7 split shot above it with a little swivel to keep the lines from getting tangled up when I'm yo-yoing these jigs on the bottom in shallow water. Right here is 24 foot, and I see some fish down there. The problem is they don't want to bite. I've been seeing fish all day. It's crappies all scattered out through here, but they will not bite. And I'm hoping they're going to turn on. It's the temperature. That was bite. I missed it. Temperature's getting up a little bit, so that was a bite though. Now it could have been a perch. I don't know if it was white perch or crappie, but right in here, it's a few fish hanging in here, and they're just pushing through in little schools. And you get it right in front of him, he might bump it. If not, he ain't gonna bite it. So this is really hard fishing. I'll tell you that. It's not fast fishing, and it's gonna be hard to make a video, but like I said, I caught them couple crappies, so it got to be a few swimming through here. I mean, they're gonna be pulling this creek channel. They're gonna be in this creek channel somewhere out here. The problem is they're not feeding. I've seen them all out in here. There was another bite, bumped it, and I hooked him a little bit, and he got off. I think it's white perch. That's what I think. One's coming through, hitting it every so often. It's a funny thing, they won't hit them minnows. They hitting the doggone, jig, but they won't hit the minnows. I don't understand it. I've got this one tipped with a little a minnow tipped on the end of a jig. I did catch one crappie with this long rod a while ago, and but that's what we're doing today. I tried out there deep. I can't find the perch out there deep, so I got to adjust and try to find them. I think what it is, they're just not feeding. I think it's fish all in this coat. They're not feeding because I see them on the bottom, and I see what I think is crappies, but they're just not feeding. You got to really put it in front of him and wiggle it and hope he'll bite it. It's just amazing to me. I see one hit that minnow, bumped it, knocked it down, let it go. So when they're hitting the minnow and letting it go, you know they're not hungry. And it's all because of this water being drawn down. They're lowering the lake. And instead of pumping water in, they're lowering the lake. And anytime you got falling water conditions, it is tough fishing, especially for crappies. They just lay there and don't feed. And then when the water starts coming back in this lake, they'll go to feeding. It might be tonight. It might be this afternoon. You never know. It's no certain time, and they might not even move it. It might stay low all day. It was low yesterday, so this is 2 days straight. I was just anxious to get over here this morning, thinking that they're going to put some water in that lake, and they're going to really be coming in shallow, but they're not. We got 60-degree water temperature. That's about 4 degrees cooler than it was a couple of days ago, and so 60 degrees water temperature, and which is warm enough. It's warm enough. In this lake, I think 65 would be better, but the main problem I think we have right now is not the water temperature. I think it's the falling water. It's not the water temperature. So the fish are just not in a feed because the water's not moving. That's the problem we have. So, hey, all we can do is try. You turn on the camera and try. Maybe we catch one, maybe we won't, but we caught a few. But it's been really slow for the old fisherman. It's hard for me to get used to this kind of fishing. When I've caught so many this winter out there deep, and spring fishing is a whole different avenue. That's why I like that deep water white perch fishing from about November to through February. It can't beat it. Once it gets to March, then you got to adapt. Now, after they spawn out, they'll go back on them same areas out there in that deeper water, maybe not as deep, 25, 30-foot humps out there on them lakes, on the islands and stuff, and start post-spawning and feeding again. And the bass will get out there and do the same thing with them. Then you catch more bass. But now, everything's getting ready to lay the eggs. And And that's why, I mean, normally it would be a perfect day, cloudy conditions, but we got low water. So that's it. That's basically wraps it up. In a nutshell, we got low water. And low water don't go along with nothing, let me tell you, not in this lake. So it's going to be an early day in, I tell you that, because right now I got about a dozen fish, and I fished all morning for a dozen fish. Trying to get on something good enough to turn the camera on, so I thought I'd caught them too. I thought I'd just show you them and turn it on for you a little bit and talk about what's going on. Right there now, I see a couple of fish right on the bottom, and they look like crappies to me. But you think they'll bite? No. I'm gonna have to keep aggravating them, and maybe want to hit it. Maybe want to get aggravated enough and hit it. Now I'm gonna try the little circle thing here, mate. See if that'll work. Right there's some fish. Right there's a couple crappies right on the bottom. And it's a couple logs down there next to this turn. They're laying right in that little crevice of that turn. So we're gonna pull these jigs in a circle. Just spin the boat basically, and see what'll happen. Hey, got to try something. I'll tell you that now. Got to try something. It's tough. It is tough today. This is where I caught some nice ones the other day, but I caught them too, and a few perch, and then I should have turned on the camera, but it was a bass boat to come right through here when I started, and he's kind of in the way, and I don't like videoing when somebody's 10 feet from me, so that's the only problem about shallow water fishing. You got all these people casting the banks for bass now, and it's hard to make a video and talk without them seeing what's going on, and I don't want to talk while people are looking at me that close. I'd rather be by myself doing the videos. But now that I'm away from that big water and that deep water, it's going to be hard to find and harder to do the videos without people being in the way. And it's Monday. I done seen 10 boats this morning, so people don't work like they used to. There's people off all the time. They like the old fishermen. But these fellas look a lot younger than me, so I don't know if they're retired or just got good jobs. They ain't got to go to work. I don't know. But a lot of people fishing now. More and more people don't work anymore, and there's people fishing 7 days a week now. Used to on a Monday, you never see a boat, but it ain't like that anymore. So, but it don't look like they're gonna bite. I mean, it's I don't know what I can say, just that I'm gonna have to adjust. Now yesterday I pulled out in the mouth of that cove out there. They go bite. See, bumped it, let it go. I mean, when they don't hit a minnow, they bumping a minnow and let it go. Something wrong. So, you know, all I can do is sit here and twitch these rods and hope. There goes one. There goes one. There goes one. That's a crappie too. See what I mean? Them sluggish rascals. I think it's a crappie. Nice one, whatever. Oh, Lord. A big fish. That might be a catfish. I don't know what that is. That's a crappie. That's a big one. I got this old long rod. Oh, my goodness. It's a largemouth bass. It's a largemouth bass on this tiny rod. A long, skinny rod. This is a largemouth bass. And them bass boys just come through here casting. They ain't get a bite. I watched them, 3 of them in the boat. And I'm sitting out here catching a largemouth bass on a big rod and a little tiny crappie jig. A little tiny crappie jig and a minnow. Tip with a minnow. These are good ones. Look at that. I tell you what, who would have ever thought it? You sit here and you sit here, you don't get a bite, and guess what happens? A largemouth bass bites it. I tell you, the old fisherman comes up with some stuff. Now he hit a little tiny flat-tailed crappie jig with a little tiny minnow tipped on it. This is going to show you what you can catch. You see that little jig there in his mouth? That's what he hit. Look at that. A 3-pound bass hit that tiny little jig. Ain't that something? I'm telling you, you never know. You just never know what the old fisherman's gonna do. He comes up with some stuff. I tell you, them old boys in the bass boat come up and I caught 3 or 4 or 5 perch and a couple of crappies, and they were looking at me like, what's he doing? And I'm just doing simple stuff. They're out there casting spinner baits and Alabama rigs, and man, they had all kind of stuff rolling out that boat. Now, I never seen them catch a fish. The old fisherman sitting here and there's another one. Oh my goodness, there's another one. There's another one. And the old fisherman sitting here, this time it's a big old slab crappie. The old fisherman sitting here, hey, in a $2,100 boat. They're out there in a $50,000 boat. 3 of them fishing. And the old fisherman sitting right here, and what's he catch? Look at this. Huh. Look at this. Look what the old fisherman can do. It just takes a little bit of patience, a little bit of experience, and a lot of confidence when they ain't biting. See what I'm talking about? A slab 2-pound crappie and a slab 3-pound black largemouth within 2 minutes of each other. And the old fisherman is in a junk boat. Huh? Not a $50,000 bass boat. Ain't got all that equipment. Don't need all that equipment. It's not about the equipment. It's about knowing what you're doing and being able to catch these kind of fish on a day that they're not even biting. They're not even biting. This is what I'm talking about. Huh? The old fisherman. You either got it or you ain't. It's the truth. What can I say? It's the truth. It's all about, hey, fish don't bite all the time. 90% of the time, you've got to make them bite. 10% of the time, they bite anything. 90% of the time, they don't want nothing. You got to make them bite. Now that rod, believe it or not, they got a crappie jig, a crappie head, a jig head, just with a minnow on it by itself. See, a lot of people don't even think about fishing like that. You got a head with a minnow with the hook going through the bottom lip up. And a lot of people, they would think, well, where's the jig? Well, hey, that's another little secret I got. Sometimes when a fish is sluggish, when a fish not wanting to bite, you can put a minnow on a regular crappie hook and he's out there wiggling all around. But if a fish is really not wanting to bite, you hook that minnow on a 16th or 32nd head, and that head keeps that minnow from moving so fast. So he's just sitting there wiggling, and you got a fish there that, look at him, set it down and nothing took it. Huh? And you got a fish there that really don't want to bite, as a catfish. Now here, I'm catching all kind of fish. There was a largemouth, a crappie. Now, guess what? My wife's got another catfish for dinner. And she ordered a couple catfish, so I got to fill that order on that jig head that I was just talking about. A jig head that holds that minnow from running too fast. So he's sitting there wiggling, the head holds him back, it weights him down. Hey, just a little secret, tell you, the old fisherman told you that a jig head sometimes works good with a minnow, without a jig. Just another little secret. I always, I try to tell you a little secret of mine every day. That's the one for the day. Y'all remember that. So we caught a catfish, a bass first, a crappie, and then a catfish. Hey, we're going to put that minnow out there on that jig head again, I can tell you that. Now, I got a jig sitting over here with a minnow tipped. So I got 3 different ways I'm fishing right now. I got a jig head on a minnow. I got a jig on the long rod tipped with a minnow. And then we got just a regular jig that I'm yo-yoing up and down. So I'm going against a lot of my rules. I got more rods than I normally have out. I'm gonna pull one of them in because there's too many. I got too many going on. I don't like to have over 3 rods. You know, and actually one rod that yo-yo and a jig without a minnow. And see, something took that. No, that's the one I caught the crappie on, the bass on. So I got to put me another minnow on this tiny, tiny, tiny little jig. That's a little jig right there. And you got to put him back up on there. But that is a little tiny flat tail jig that I got on there just to basically be a jig with the minnow. And that's what that bass is. That little tiny thing got a hook. That's a 30-second head. That hook's tiny. I'm amazed I caught that bass. I'll be honest with you, I'm amazed that I caught that bass. But he hit that thing. So the fish are sluggish. They don't want to bite. So I'm out here being real patient. And you got to be real patient when fish don't want to bite. And we're going to put a minnow on this jig head and tip the minnow with this jig rather. And it gives it a little color, and then that little minnow kind of wiggling makes them desire to bite it. Something different. So we got 3 different things here we're going to fish with. Long rod with a jig and a minnow tipped on it. We got the next size rod there with just a lead head and a minnow. And then we're going to yo-yo a crappie jig by itself on the other one, off the bottom. That's what we're going to do. And we'll see which one of them we're going to catch fish on. And hey, we caught a couple. We caught a couple. And I'm gonna tell you, these fish are coming in. They get as soon as that water comes up. If that water be up today, I'd be catching a lot of them because it's low light. That's what you want, low light. But you never know when they're gonna start pumping in. I assume it's gonna be at night. They pump it in at night and then they take it back out during the day. But last night they didn't pump it in, so it's been low for 2 days. Now I'm pulling up here. We're looking at, and I'll show you right quick what the fish find, what it looks like when a couple of fish are down there. You see this? You see that 23 foot of water? You see them fish right there on the bottom? Them's crappies. Them's crappies. They're laying right there in 23 foot of water on the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. I hope you can. But that's what they're doing. They're laying in 23 foot of water. And I'm going to put this camera back up here. And we're going to get back up here and see if we can catch a couple of them. I know they're there. I see them. They can't fool old fishermen. They think they can fool old fishermen. They can't. I know they're there. All I got to do is aggravate them enough. And it's going to be slow. But patience is the key for fishing for a non-biting crappie. Patience. I'll tell you what, that was the last crappie in that bass. That's 2 pretty fish. That's 2 pretty fish. You got to love it. Hey, just take your time. Beautiful. It's calm, cool. It's not too hot, not too cold. Look at that. There's another one. There's another one. I told you it was fish down there. Now, I think this might be a perch. Yep, this is a white perch. But he's a fairly nice one. Nothing wrong with him. But see, them perch are running up here with them crappies. They're spawning. That's what they're doing. A lot of them, some of them are spawning, I think, in deeper water. I think. Or maybe they just was out there in that deep water feeding. I keep saying they spawning in deep water. I'm not down there looking at them. So they might run in at night and spawn, run in when it gets right to spawn, and then they run back. But they live in that deeper water most of the time. And now these perch at this end of the lake are running up in this ditch along with these crappies and getting ready to spawn is what they're doing. And they in this ditch, and this ditch, like I said a while ago, it comes in and makes a turn. We on the elbow of the ditch is where I'm zeroing in on. Just a turn in a ditch. And these fish are filtered in here all day long, probably. And then at night, I don't fish in the evening, but this kind of fishing is really good in the evening. You come in the evening after the water if the water happens to stay up, there's a bite. Uh-oh, I missed him. That was a bite on that little jig with the minnow tipped on it. And I missed it. It was probably a perch. Oh, it didn't get him. So there goes one on that one. There you go. Another perch, I would imagine. Another perch, little one, little fish. That ain't nothing. Jumped in trying to take my minnow off. But anyhow, hey, we're gonna put another minnow on that one. We're gonna put another minnow. Now this is slow fishing, but you know what? You come out here and you get your couple rods out and sit around and do this. It's fun too. It ain't like snatching them perch in, but this is fun fishing also. I like to catch another one of these big crappies is what I want to catch for you. All right, we let that one to the bottom. We're gonna reel up. It's a little bit more work with all these rods. Now I told you before I don't like a lot of rods, and I don't, but I will do it ever so often, couple, two or three. Ever so often, when there ain't nothing else biting, I got to just sit back and slow down. I'll do this. Hey, anything to catch a fish, whatever it takes, I'll do. I'm telling you, I'll do it. Now, what we're going to do, we're real close to that little turn of that ditch. And them fish are holding in this little pocket. What I'm catching is one little spot in here. Now, I'm telling you, they're not everywhere. Hey, one little 55-gallon drum spot down there is where them crappies is holding. I think it's a log or two laying down there. I mean, I don't get hung up very much. Once in a while, I get hung up on it, but it ain't much. So it's whatever it is a rotten log or just a little something laying on that turn of that ditch. And that's why they in here. And so we sitting in here, and as those fish filter in, hopefully, they swim in this highway. They coming up this highway, just cruising. They cruising fish, and they coming up this highway. And when they get in here around this log and stuff, some of them will slow down and hang out, and sit there and wait for a little minnow to swim by. And hopefully that little minnow is my jig, and that's what we're doing. Now, as it goes over yonder about 30, 40 yards, it makes another turn. So if I don't catch them here very good, then what I'll do is I'll move over there to the other turn. There was a bite. Doggone it. He hit it. That rod I got that minnow on is a little stiff. I really need a little softer tip rod for that minnow. I believe he might have took my minnow. I looked up and he had it down and then pulled the minnow off. That's what he done. Pulled my minnow off. That's why it's important to have a real soft tip on your minnow rod, and that minnow rod right there, that rod right there is a little bit stiffer tip when they ain't biting. When they bite, it don't make no difference. They'll hit it and take it down and gone with it. But sometimes when they're a little bit sluggish, they feel a little resistance. That rod's a little too stiff. Now that long rod right there is good. It's a perfect rod for minnows. I really shouldn't have that minnow on this rod. I should get one of these other rods and put that minnow on. I really should. But anyhow, I'm gonna leave it out there for right now. You'll get this thing in here and see if we can get another. I see a crappie right there. I see a crappie right there. The crappies and the perch look a little different on the bottom. But that right there looks like, it could be a bass, but it looks like a crappie. See if we can get him. Let's see if we can catch that old crappie. It's gonna be slow. I'm gonna turn this thing in a circle again. And I got to get right on this little creek ditch. Right on this creek ditch. Turn it in a circle. I tell you, it's wanting to rain and wanting to drizzle. And like I say, any other time, this would be the perfect day if the water would be up. If the water was up, we'd be killing them. We'd be killing them, I'm telling you. We getting the best fish now, though. I mean, it's covered in that drum in there, so I got a good many fish. There's one tapping that thing right there. Hit that other one too. A little perch or something down there hitting. I don't think that's crappies. They hitting it like a perch. Hitting it like a perch. They bumping both of these minnows, but they're not taking it. That one hit the doggone jig. They're not taking it. So there's some fish out there. You just got to get the right one to hit it. right one. But I'm, you know, I'm gonna let you go. Oh, there's one. I ain't gonna let you go yet. Oh, he nailed it. Oh, Lord, he nailed it. That's a big old perch. I believe might be a crappie. Let's see. No, it's a perch. It's a perch. Look at that, white perch. Lake Monticello on a crappie jig with a little lid above it. That's what we're doing. A little crappie jig, and I'll show you this, and then I'm gonna let you go. And as soon as I do, I'll catch another one. But I'm gonna show you what I caught that perch on. It's a little triple ripple crappie jig right there. And hey, we're not tearing them up, but the old fisherman is enjoying himself with a slowing down type of fishing. So I appreciate y'all watching, and I appreciate all your comments I'm getting. I got to get busy answering all these comments because I'm getting a lot of them now. But anyhow, appreciate y'all watching my show, and I'll get back with you after a while with another show. Steve Cumliner, Lake Monticello.